All right, hello and welcome back to my newest video. As you can see, we're trying something a little different. I want to get some a little bit more creativity in this. I found this old mic that I had. I think it sounds a little better. I don't know. I'm trying it out. But yeah, so today we are going to be talking about Travis Scott's debut album, Rodeo. I just saw him in concert on the 22nd of January, and it kind of inspired me to, I think, dive into his not dive into his discography because I'm very familiar with his discography. I've been listening to him for a long time, but to review his entire discography. So, of course, we're going to be starting at Rodeo because I'm not doing all the mixtapes and all that mess, because if I do it for him, I gotta do it for everybody. So, we're starting at Rodeo. After creating a big splash on the scene with his first two mixtapes, or I guess two real official mixtapes with Owl Pharaoh and Days Before Rodeo, he then came out with this, Rodeo, and it made a massive splash on the scene. It is still to this day one of the biggest trap records to date, and I think it's absolutely fantastic. Straight from the get-go, we do get narration from the legendary trap artist T.I., kind of introducing us into the world that is going to be Rodeo, and then we get a phenomenal track. Pornography is split into two parts with two different instrumentals, and I really like both sides. My problem, unfortunately, with this song is the interlude or the talking that splits the two sides. I really like both sides. I really like this track, but every time I listen to this, I don't want to have to hear T.I. cut in between in the middle, or even the outro for that fact. I mean, I get that it adds to the world and it's dynamic. I just don't want to listen to it every time. It gets kind of boring. And just a little bit monotonous to listen to. But, I mean, it's still good every once in a while, but I really don't go back and listen to it unless it's in the full album context. We do then get luckily one of the best tracks on the album with Oh My Decide, which is, I believe, it's not his first link up with Quavo, because they do have Sloppy Toppy on Days Before Rodeo and maybe a Migos track before this. But either way, this is one of their first collaborations, and it's fantastic. Again, it wouldn't be a Travis Scott album if you didn't have multiple songs split into multiple instrumentals. So this is one of, this is the start of it, and it's fantastic. I don't know who produced it. I wish I looked, because the instrumental is really good on this. But yeah, Oh My Decide, I feel like there's not really much to say besides this. It's just Travis Scott and Quavo, they both pair together so well. I love that when they're both doing ad-libs while the other person is rapping, and they both just bounce off each other super well. 3500, I think, has to be one of Travis's most unique songs to date. It is nearly an 8-minute escapade, and it's absolutely crazy. I think that Future and 2 Chainz both have phenomenal features and both do really well. I think my only problem with the track is that the outro is so long, and I don't have a problem with that, because I think Astroworld has some pretty long outros. For example, on Stop Trying to Be God, James Blake has a really long outro, and then the instrumental that comes after his outro, and then you have Wake Up and 5% Tint, which both have long outros, and that's fine because it's really interesting and there's a lot going on. But on the outro for this, it's kind of one note and it goes on, I swear to God, isn't it only 3 minutes? It's like a 3-minute outro. It's nuts. It's a little too long. I mean, like a 5-minute song, don't get me wrong, totally fine with it. But when you have the last 3 minutes after that 5 minutes, kind of doing the same thing, it's just, I don't know. I don't find it all that interesting. I still absolutely love the song. I just skip it after a certain point. So unfortunately for me, that does take it down a little bit. So obviously this album is not getting a perfect rating. You can already tell from this, because I've complained a little bit. But yeah, I mean, when people say, oh, it's a perfect album, I'm like, is it though? Don't think so. Next is Wasted, which I think is another great jam. I think this one gets massively overlooked. I really like the Juicy J feature. I think he fits on really nicely. And with Travis being so inspired by Southern rap, to have legends like T.I. and Juicy J on your debut album is absolutely nuts. And yeah, I think the song is massively overlooked. I love the sample. I think it's a Pimp C sample. Yeah, Having Things. It is really good. I'm looking at my notes down. If you're like, what the hell is he looking at? Yeah, but so great song. I think massively overlooked. It's not one of the best, but it is a really fun one to listen to, and I think it adds a lot to the album. And the chorus is probably my favorite part of the song. I know it is just the interpolation, but I like the way it's pitched down and it's chopped up. I think it's really nice to it. And of course, then we get Travis Scott's one of his greatest. I know a lot of people would say it is his greatest song. Personally, it's not my favorite. We will get to that in the future. But we have 90210. And I mean, what can I say about this song that hasn't already been said? It is a phenomenal storytelling track with Travis Scott on the first half telling about this girl who moves to LA. She lives in the hills and she's trying to get famous, ends up turning to porn because she starts a drug habit. It's really well done. What's her name? Is it Casey Hill? I don't know. Pretty sure it's Casey. Yeah. Whatever. She does the phenomenal backing vocals and the chorus on it. And then you get the amazing beat switch to, again, the second half, which is more focused on Travis himself and kind of what it took for him to get where he is now, being a kid from Houston, and now he's living in the hills in Hollywood, and his, making sure he takes care of his friends and his family, and like his family being worried. And he literally says, directly from his grandma saying, Travis, don't forget about me. You're getting famous. You can't forget like where you came from. And it's a really harrowing story, and I think it's really well done. Of course, it is just a perfect song. I mean, it's 5.5 minutes of pure excellence, and yeah, I mean, just fantastic song. Not really much I can say besides that. I mean, it's been talked about so much. Yeah, again, not my personal favorite from Travis. It's not even my favorite on the album. I will get to that, but it does. I mean, you got to mention it when you're talking about Travis Scott in general, and especially when you're talking about Rodeo. Then following up, we have our first collaboration between Travis Scott and longtime collaborator The Weeknd. Yeah, Pray for Love, I think, again, is a massively underrated track. I mean, I feel like when people talk about Rodeo, they're just mostly talking about 90210. People credit this to be a great album, and I would agree. It is fantastic. It is one of the best trap albums of all time, but people kind of just talk about 90210. You don't get much other than that. But Pray for Love, I think, is another massive highlight. Not really much I have to say about that. I don't find it to be one of the best on the album, but I think it still is a great track. But to round out this really nice 3-track run, we do have one of my favorites on the entire project. I'd say this may be my third favorite song, Nightcrawler. This track is absolutely insane. It is massive. It is explosive. You have Chief Keef and Sway Lee and Travis Scott coming together for, again, I think this song is also like 5 minutes. There's a lot of long songs on this one, which is fine with me. But, I mean, just the energy that these 3 artists bring to this is phenomenal. Sway Lee, I mean, at this point was, I feel like, virtually, I wouldn't say unknown, but definitely was not what he would be today. And Chief Keef, just a couple years prior, was that 2013? Love Sosa first came out, and was that his first single? I don't know. Either way, so either way, I mean, it's just massive. I actually really wish that Travis and Chief Keef would make more music together. I think it'd be super interesting if they sort of went back to this like dirtier, more raw sound like this. But yeah, this has got to be one of my favorite tracks. I mean, lyrically, it's just it's a party song, but it is such a fun one. And might I say, seeing this one live was fantastic. I was massively looking forward to it, and it is one of the most fun moments on the entire project. After this, though, we do take a bit of a left turn with "Piss on Your Grave," and I find it really interesting because Travis is so inspired by Kanye and takes so much inspiration from him, but yet Kanye then is on his first solo album, and it sounds nothing like what you would think the two of them would make together. I mean, it's like this heavy rock inspired instrumental, and it is just like, I don't know, it's so out of left field. And while I think it is massively overhated, I do understand the disdain that people have for it, because I don't really think it even fits the not necessarily the narrative, because this is a lot about Travis kind of getting his spotlight finally and making it big, but it just doesn't fit the sound of Rodeo. I mean, you're talking about a trap album, and this is straight up not a trap song at all. Not even a little bit. I mean, the instrumentally is just a rock instrumental, just changes up a little bit, but like, yeah, I don't know. If I had to pick like one song to be cut from this, it would be this. Probably only to keep it more tightly concise with the narrative and the sound. But we will get on to my actual least favorites later. But after this, anyways, we have Antidote, which does start another really good 3-track run. Maybe my favorite 3-track run. Antidote, again, what's Sarah going to say about this? I mean, it is just an insane party banger. Travis's first real big, like, stadium hit song. I know he wasn't selling stadiums at this point, but it is like that size of magnitude of how big this song is, and it's insane. I mean, it's just another really fun party song. Great catchy chorus, and it is super fun. What is there to say? I feel like it's kind of like I'm kind of just bullshitting a little bit, but it's like, what are you gonna say about this? Yeah, I would venture to say that this is probably, though, just as good as 90210. I don't quote me on that. But anyways, I don't know. How can you not like this song? But my personal favorite moment on the entire album is the next song, and that is Impossible. This is a sort of love song where Travis talks about him wanting to do the impossible, which is get this girl who he is in love with to then be in love with him. And he knows that she doesn't love him, but he's like, oh, I wish, who hasn't felt that? But yeah, so it's just a phenomenal song. It has great writing, a fantastic production. I love this is kind of like the first that we really get Travis in this real spacey, almost psychedelia inspired atmosphere that we see super often later on in his career. But yeah, this song is just phenomenal. It feels like you're floating, like when you're listening to this in the chorus when he's like, I'm not going to sing it. I was going to sing it, but I'm not going to. Yeah, it is just great. It's fantastic. But after that, you get, to end out the 3-track run, you get Maria I'm Drunk, which is just another classic moment. And, of course, it is a collaboration with Young Thug, so you already know. If you know me personally, I love Young Thug, one of my favorite rappers of all time. Probably my personal favorite rapper. I know he's not the best, but, that's a different conversation. So this is one of my favorite tracks, and it's just a fantastic collaboration. He unexpectedly has Justin Bieber on here, and that is just a crazy twist of its own. And you could venture to say that Justin Bieber has the best verse on this entire thing. You could say that. You can. Honestly, I wouldn't judge you for it, because his verse is really freaking good. All 3 people show out. I love the super spacey, again, the intro, like, that you start kind of getting, much later on in his career. But the super spacey intro, and then how it, you know, goes into that deep and kind of murky trap beat with Young Thug, of course, leading most of the song with his "Let's get drunk." That's horrible. But yeah, just a really freaking good song. But I hate to say it. The next song after Maria, I'm Drunk. I'm a part of the haters. I'm a part of the haters. Flying High is not good. It's just not a good song. I don't think Travis Scott has many songs that are straight up just not good. I think he's got some songs that are pretty mediocre at best. He's got some songs that are mid, you could say, but I think Flying High is just not good. I think it really only has one moment in the song that is decent, I guess. I feel so bad. Like, I'm not saying, like, I don't know. I don't like it. I just don't like it. I think Toro y Moi was an interesting person to collaborate with, and I think if they did something now, it could be super interesting, especially now that they're both further on in their careers. But I don't know. This just hits nothing for me. And narratively, there's nothing that happens on this song that isn't already done in multiple other songs on the track list. I mean, you have Wasted, which is a song literally about getting intoxicated on different substances. So what is it that we needed Flying High for? I don't know. And especially if you're like, hey, you know, if we're speaking on Travis Scott then, I mean, if you're asking me who would I rather hear now on one of his albums, Toro y Moi or Juicy J, yeah, I'd say Toro y Moi. Travis Scott's much more artistic, and it would be much more interesting. Like, on his debut album, I'd be like, yeah, give me Juicy J. That'd be sick. But, like, I don't know. They just don't really match together. Yeah, I'm sorry. I just don't like it. I think the only really good part is Toro y Moi's bridge. I think it's like a minute into the song. It's like kind of like a little bit of an instrumental change up. I think that's like the only really good part of the song. Yeah. I Can Tell, though, has to be probably the most forgotten about song, I feel like, from Travis. I feel like it's massively underrated. Again, it's not his best, so I guess I get it, but at the same time, it's like, you gotta give it its flowers. It is a really good song, and I think it does fit really nicely into this album comparatively to other songs. Of course, it could be cut down. I would understand if you're like, hey, I don't want this here. That's fine. I get it. It's not fantastic, but it's good. But yeah, I mean, it is overshadowed, especially being right next to the closing track, Apple Pie, which is so important narratively and is much more interesting. I feel like even just instrumentally and everything about it is much more interesting than I Can Tell. But I like how dark I Can Tell is. I mean, he's like, it's a really gritty, and I feel like a lot of Travis's music, it has this sort of nocturnal atmosphere to it. Like, it feels very much like nighttime music. It's music you would listen to at night, or like, again, like when you go to a concert, it's at night. It just fits that atmosphere, and I Can Tell, I think, is one of those songs that really shines on that, and it feels like you're in this like deep dark like underground basement sort of. And yeah, I really like the song just in general, and him talking about how, you know, like, he's like, I can tell, obviously that's what it's called, you know, he's like, I can tell like the stories of like my upbringing, and I can do all that, and he does a little bit, you know. He's never really gone too much into detail about like what he's gone through growing up. I mean, there is a documentary, which even that doesn't show too much. And he's like, I can, and he does a little bit. He's like, okay, here's a little bit, but then I like how it ends on like, no. He's like, no, you can't tell. Like, no, it's not for you. I like that. But as mentioned before, the final track, Apple Pie, is one of, I think if we're talking objectively, right? Objectively is like when you're saying it's a fact, and subjective is an opinion. So objectively, it's maybe the best song, I think, on the whole album. I think just what it stands for, and just like what it means. I think it's again, massively overlooked because people just mostly talk about 90210. But I think that this being like, Travis Scott's mom being like, oh, offering him help, and he's like, no, I don't want your recipe to make it in the world. Like, I have to do this on my own. If I'm gonna fail, it's on my terms. And I really like that. I think that's super relatable, not only, but just like, not like heartfelt. So I wouldn't say it's heartfelt, but it is in a sense. It is in a sense heartfelt in a way where he's like, I need to do this on my own. Like, if I don't do it on my own, then it's not my own journey. And I just like what it really stands for. And it really is a great way to end the project. But that is the end of the basis of the review. Now we're going to get into the highest highs section. And for best vocal performance, I'm going to say it is Impossible. As I said, it's very spacious. It's the first we get of this more psychedelic-inspired Travis Scott. And yeah, fantastic vocal performance. The way he gets much more melodic is great. Best production, I'm going to give to Nightcrawler. That might be crazy to some people. I think it's fantastic. I think it's just a flawless production, and just what he does across the entire thing is great. Best songwriting is going to be, of course, for 90210. Both sides are absolutely fantastic, and he just does great. I wish we could see more storytelling like this from him in the future. And my favorite bar is going to be from Antidote, and is they be hating, they stink, and they waiting. Don't be mistaken, we die and they stand. Lord, I'm on fire. They think that I'm Satan. I saw this thing that was on Reddit, and I know Reddit. You look like a guy who's on Reddit. Yeah, I am. There was this thing on Reddit of someone saying, like, oh, all the people who say that Travis is, like, satanic, or, like, he's a devil worshiper. But then he has all these references of, like, being religious in his music, and this isn't necessarily saying that he's religious, but it's just, like, I don't know, it adds to that narrative that he talks about a lot in his music. And I just think the flow on this is really nice, and it's just my favorite, I think, bar on the whole thing and the way it flows. Best guest performance, of course, has to go to Young Thug, I'm Maria, I'm Drunk. He takes up about 75% of the entire song, and it practically is his song, with how much he does on it. But yeah, I mean, it's fantastic. It's great. You could give it to Justin Bieber. I feel like they're the only two people who, like, really had super standout moments on this, like, where they really shined, and it felt like it stuck out. Because, I mean, not that anyone else had, like, a super bad feature, but it just really fits into that song, and you don't necessarily, I don't know, I feel like I'm digging a hole, because people are going to be like, no, you're wrong. You're stupid. I am, though. But that's it for Rodeo. I think I would rate my enjoyment at about an 87%. So this album, though, I mean, it does mean a lot to me, because I know it's not necessarily like one I revisit all the time. I mean, I revisit probably most of Travis's other albums more, even Birds, which might be crazy. I wouldn't say Birds is better than this, but I think I revisit it more. But for context, when I got my first car, it was a 2001 Pontiac Grand Prix. I'll put a picture of it. It's old. It's from 2001. And so it didn't have Bluetooth, didn't have an aux cord, which it's like crazy nowadays. I mean, like, if a car came out and had no Bluetooth or aux, you'd be like, what am I going to do with this piece of shit? But, it only had a CD player. And so I went to a record store that I knew of, and I had been to before, that sold CDs. And at the time, I didn't even have a car. I would just, I had vinyls, but I was like, okay, I'm going to go and buy some CDs. And Rodeo had been out for maybe like a year-ish. And at the time, I wasn't like super into rap. I really wasn't even that super into music. Like, I liked music, but I wasn't like deeply into it like I am now. Like, now I'm like massive. Like, I couldn't imagine my life before, like living without music. But yeah, I was just like, okay, I heard about this album and I heard good things about it, so I'm gonna try it out. You know what? I bought it without really knowing anything about it. I mean, I had kind of heard Antidote before, and that was it. It wasn't even like the full song. I just heard it on the radio, whatever. And so I bought it, and I just listened to this endlessly. I mean, just over and over and over again that summer when I got the car. And yeah, so I mean, this album, I mean, it brings back a lot of memories, as I'm sure it does for a lot of people. But I don't know, it's fun hearing about. I think when certain landmark albums come out and what people were doing with their lives, and I was in high school, and so it just brings back a lot of memories from that time, and just that's what it means to me. So anytime I listen to this album, especially in the summertime, it kind of transports me back to that place. So yeah, that's my review. Thank you for watching. I hope the audio isn't too shit for this. I have to admit, I'm not going to record this again if it sounds like garbage. So I hope I'm not too quiet for this. I hope this mic worked well, and I held it at the right distance the entire time. I'm sure I didn't. But yeah, thank you for watching. I hope to see you in the next video. Please like and subscribe. Check me out on socials. UMG just pulled all their music from TikTok, so I don't know about my daily or my random song suggestion series. I don't know what I'm gonna do with that. I guess it might just have to be indie artists from now on. But yeah, check me out. All my socials will be linked in the description. I hope you like this new aesthetic. It's been one I've been thinking about for a while. I wanted to do something a little different. So yeah, thank you for watching. I will see you in the next video. Bye now.